Hello there. Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 7 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically today, I want to look at the concept of arguments, how we find ourselves kind of getting into heated discussions with people that never really seem to resolve the problem, just kind of seem to make everybody mad. There's a quote that I'm using that's from Eckhart Tolle. And by the way, if you would like to receive one of my favorite quotes each week, I have an email list of around 6,000 folks I send this out to, one of my favorite quotes, along with 2 or 3 paragraphs about how to apply that quote to life. Simply go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, or just Google Bill Crawford PhD. I'll come up on the first page. Hit the subscribe button, put your name and email address in. It's free. Every week I will send you one of my favorite quotes, along with 2 or 3 paragraphs about how to apply the quote to life. So this quote from Eckhart Tolle is about arguments. It's very interesting. It says, "You can't have an argument with a truly conscious person." No. Okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean people are unconscious, when they're having arguments? Well, yes and no. It doesn't mean unconscious like laying there unconscious. Notice the word truly conscious person or fully conscious person. That means they got to be coming from the fully conscious part of the brain. For those of you who follow my Life from the Top of the Mind philosophy, you know we got these 3 parts of the brain. Lower part of the brain is called the brainstem, lower brain. It's where fight or flight responses are located. Middle brain, this is called the limbic system. I call it the middle brain. This is the part of the brain that actually acts as a scanner, a processor, a router. It scans incoming data, processes it or interprets it, and then either routes it down to the lower brain or up to the neocortex, the upper 80% of the brain, what I call the top of the mind. So my Life from the Top of the Mind philosophy is about being able to be in this clear, confident, creative, curious, compassionate part of who we are, especially when we're dealing with someone where there is a difference of opinion. Now, the title is How to Avoid Arguing by, How to Avoid Arguing Without Avoiding Arguments. Okay, that's what it is. And what that means is this isn't about sweeping things under the rug, okay? It's about never talking about anything that has any potential for conflict. If an argument really on some level could be just a perspective. I mean, if I am arguing my case before a judge, I'm presenting my perspective. I'm not necessarily arguing with the other person. I'm presenting an argument for my perspective. So whenever you're really kind of presenting a perspective that some objective third party is supposed to consider and make some sort of ruling on, well, that's not a problem. The problem, I think, comes when we are arguing with someone. Because when we're arguing with someone, they are very rarely in the clear, confident, creative, compassionate, curious part of the brain, and neither are we. And that's what Eckhart Tolle means when he says you can't have an argument with a fully conscious person. Now, I think we can engage people with whom we have a disagreement in a way that avoids arguing, but doesn't avoid the argument. And what I like to do is when I find someone speaking to me in a way that lets me know that they have a very different opinion about something that I do, I like to get really curious. Oh, wow. Tell me more about that. Where did you get that? What makes you feel that way? Why do you believe so passionately about that? Because I find if I'm willing to get curious, number one, I'm coming from that curious, fully conscious part of who I am, and I'm learning more and more about what's important to them. Now, if in the process of learning what's important to them, I can recognize, hey, there's something that's important to them that is also important to me, that begins to give me an opportunity to think about how I want to phrase my response. So I'm not arguing back, I'm taking what they told me and validating it, by the way, until they hear me say, I can see how you'd see it that way. I can see how that would make sense to you. Up until then, they're going to just try to convince me of the righteousness of their perspective. But once I hear what's important to them and let them know how I can see how they would see it that way, didn't mean I would see it that way, but how they would see it that way, then I can say, so if this is important to you, I think there's something important to me here that might be able to have us find some common ground. If common ground is my goal, then that's what I want to go for. Now, if someone's telling me something that they're just trying to convince me that I'm wrong, and I have a pretty clear sense of the validity of my perspective, there's really still no need to get in an argument. Politics can be this way. Have you ever noticed how fiery people get about convincing you that they're right about some particular party or candidate. So when someone comes to me and they say, listen, ba-bam, 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 and I go, okay, so I might have a different perspective. And they go, well, yeah, you shouldn't because ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. And so then again, they start arguing. I said, yeah. So I'm just curious, how is my different perspective a problem for you? They often don't know what to say because, see, again, what they're trying to do is make me get into an argument with them. They want me to start arguing so that they can find the flaw in my argument and convince me I'm wrong. I have no need to convince them that I'm right. And once I discover that their perspective and my perspective really doesn't have a common ground component, which, by the way, is very rare, but it'll happen every once in a while, then I can find myself going, well, gee, I can see how you'd see it that way. I'm just curious, how is my difference of opinion a problem for you? Now, we don't know what they're going to say, but they're going to be taken aback for a moment. So what I like to do is when I'm engaging people who either want to argue with me or have a different perspective, I like to be fully conscious. I like to be coming from this clear, confident, creative, curious part of who I am. And once I get really clear what's important to them, and I discover either we have common ground or we don't, that allows me to go forward in a way that allows me to be more effective. This is what I do. I go around the world teaching people how to use neuroscience, how to understand what part of the brain we're coming from, what part of the brain they're coming from, in order to be able to resolve arguments, in order to be able to communicate in a way where your perspective is actually heard. If you would like me to come to your organization or your family and do this with you, all you got to do is go to my website, BillCrawfordPhD.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Love to talk with you about that. In the meantime, I'm hoping you're finding these videos valuable. You know, I post one about every week. If you do, please hit the like button. You know how Facebook and YouTube and Pinterest, all these folks love it when you like it. Share it with your friends if you feel it would be valuable. So, in the meantime, between now and next time, here is to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do, including arguments. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.